Elaine Benfield, and welcome to another episode of Herstories. So today, you can see I have a very special guest, my fabulous daughter, Hannah Benfield. Welcome to Herstories.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So everyone knows when I start off, I talk why people inspire me and why I want certain guests in the show. And anyone who knows me knows that when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a mom. That just was who I am, what I was like as a child. And Hannah has been one of my greatest joys in life. She, I can truly say, hasn't taken the easiest path, but the right path. And I think as a parent, that's the biggest thing, is that you want your child to become happy. And seeing Hannah evolve over the last few years especially has been such a great gift for me, and I'm super inspired every day by you. So let's go through, and now I always ask a question. So who is Hannah Benfield? Where are you in this stage of your life?
Oh, that's an amazing question. One I don't have the answer to. I find that I'm still really exploring myself, who I am, what I mean to myself. I'm still working towards, finding what feels right for me and what values and, things I want in my life. Or what values I have and what things do I want in my life going forward. But to the answer, who is Hannah Benfield, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's a fair question for a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to find out who you are, and I think you're evolving every day more than I think some other kids at 19. I think you're really trying to find, as we say, your authentic self. Mm-hmm. So the last time we talked, you ended up talking, we had a 2-part series really talking about you coming out as a trans woman, and then talking about you being on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. And so I'd love to talk. Can you give everyone an update? How are you doing? How's everything going?
Yeah, so pretty much everything is going really well. I'm still taking, HRT, still on which is hormone replacement therapy. But I'm just living. That's it. I'm just living.
Yeah.
In regards to being autistic, I'm still working through what it means for me and how I have to adapt to my life, and how I need to live differently than other people. Because it's sometimes I'll hear from a lot of my peers, they're talking about, oh, I'm doing X, Y, Z, and I think about it and I'm I can't do that. It's just...
Any examples?
I think one of the biggest things is we had a discussion about this a few weeks ago, but I consider myself to be a very low energy person, and I don't mean that in the I'm just really quiet, I mean that in the I have a limit of how much I can do in a day, and that limit is a lot lower than I wish it was.
Can we talk about spoons?
Yeah, so spoons. So spoons is a concept in the neurodivergent community, which is a term that I will be using. So neurodivergent is, if you have ADHD, if you have ADD, which is, also ADHD, they're under the same umbrella. If you're autistic, if you have OCD, etc., you can fall under that umbrella. It is a term that I use to describe myself because it fits, how my brain works. But it's a term that's basically how much can you give? How much can you do? So, for example, one thing that took a lot out of me that I did a few months ago was going to the Social Security office down in downtown Atlanta and waiting in line with, or not waiting, but sitting in a room with 50 people, and that took a lot out of me. Mm-hmm. And it's I came home and that was the only thing I could do that day. For most people, the average person, they're just oh, I have an appointment. They go there, they park, they pay, they sit in there and they go home and do other stuff. I came home and I needed to recharge. Physically, I wasn't myself.
And do you, in those moments, do you feel that, we've talked about, and I really want to drill into this, because you and I have we're opposite spoons.
Yeah.
But when you came home, what's your way to recharge? Do you sit with music? Do you have your headphones on? Do you play games?
So
What
I'm
is
very. It really depends. You know, sometimes it's just like I just need to do whatever my brain wants to do right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go, sit on the computer, listen to music, just do random stuff. Sometimes it's I need to turn off every single bit of noise. No one talk to me for the next 5 hours. I'm going to, go to sleep, essentially.
So no around like us, me talking to you in those moments
Yeah.
is really tough.
I mean, and it's just like working around that and being very aware of my own needs. And I've always dealt with like the struggle of, especially like a lot when I was younger, in school, they would expect you to be fully on from, like 9 a.m. to, 3, 4 p.m. And it's like, as I get older, I realize like, I can't do that. It's not for me. It's not going to work for me. I'll do it if it's what's required of me. If I have to be there from that time, I'll do it. I'll be there. But I'm zoning out in the last 2 hours, 100%. I'm not going to be remembering anything. But it's just working around, my own brain essentially, and trying to just adapt myself, or like adapt my behavior to how I work.
Yeah.
And also like, how does the world work with that, and how does it work with me?
And I think it's one of the clearest ways that when you said that term, it was a light bulb. Because on a normal scale, how many spoons are you? Say, do we want to do 1 to 5? Do we want to do 1 to 10? What on
a good day, I'm like 6, maybe 7.
Okay.
And then by the end of the day, I'm usually at like 3 to 4.
So what am I at 50?
Yeah, it's like that, and it's like some days I wake up and I'm like, oh God, I have a lot of work to do. I physically cannot do it, and it's just like sometimes I have to power through. Sometimes I have to, calculate. It's not a big deal if I don't do this one thing today, because I can either do it tomorrow or I can take the hit, and just not have done it.
But it's helped me understand, you and I've talked a lot about scheduling and the things that I expect of the kids in the house, because I need help as a single mom. But it's amazing how clear it is. It's like, oh, when I ask you to do something at the end of the day, if you're a 2 spoon,
it's not getting done.
It's a light bulb for me, because I'm like, oh, you can't do it. And we, to me, it's energy, but spoon is so clear to me that it's like
you asked me to do a task, and I'm physically handing you a spoon, and it's like, I am giving a part of myself to you to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and is that what you want to do? Like, would you rather give the spoon to drumming?
Exactly.
It's like, it makes sense. It's
and
like,
a lot of this for me, and like a lot of the therapy I've done, is, really focusing on how do you replenish them. For me, it's, I just need to take some time away, and especially if I'm at school, or I'm at classes, and I'm noticing myself like kind of zoning out, and like, it's not even zoning out, it's kind of like
retreating almost.
It's like, it's this very nebulous feeling of, I'm not here anymore. I'm physically here, but mentally it's like, I want to be home right now, I want to be doing anything else, because I don't have that. And
you also have a commute to school. We'll get into that in a minute. You have a commute to school, and I don't approach you when you come home from school. I always joke, I have my bedroom doors are always open for the kids, and I have the doors open that you come to me. And there's a couple times where you're like, I'm like, ooh, Hannah, and you're like, I'm home. And that means, Hannah, you have no spoons. I don't even want to talk about my day. I just need to.
Yeah, there's some times where I come home, and it's like,
you text me home.
I literally just text you.
Or on my way home.
On my way home. Yep, exactly.
And that's great. That's all I need. That's like my safety.
Especially like along those like longer days, like there's sometimes I like go in there at 3 p.m. Going up Spaghetti Junction, and the school's like 20 miles away, so it's like traffic is bad. Yeah. There's times I've driven there, it's been an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm like, there's some students that live like 2.5 hours away. I'm like, you made a mistake. But it's like, I come home, and it's like, because I'm a music student, you know, I'm learning how to play the drums. It's physically tiring. It takes a lot, especially like, you know, when I get there, like last week I got there at 3. I played for 2 hours. I had a break. You know, I ate all my lunch and stuff. I literally just put on my headphones, listened to music, and just drowned everything out.
Yeah.
And then I came in, played for an hour, you know, talked to people for an hour, and then I played for another hour.
Yeah.
4 hours of drumming. Drumming is
physical.
It's physical as hell. It's draining.
I see you afterwards, and it's like, you know, I see you sweating. I see you have a towel for your hands and your face.
Yeah.
I see your color changes. Like, you definitely. I mean, it's a physical activity. I mean, it's just you're moving. Yeah. Your whole body's really moving.
And it's just like, especially with, you know, drumming. You know, I come home and, you know, my body is physically tired. My mind is mentally tired. The only thing I can do at that moment, the only spoons I have to expend are making food and then resting for the night, essentially. But then there's sometimes I come home and I'm like, I had a great day. You know,
and
it
I
wasn't
can tell
that hard.
when you come in my room.
I come in your room and I'm just like,
talk to the dogs.
Talk to the dogs, yeah.
You climb into bed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that.
And it's just like, it's all about just being aware of myself.
But it's aware of yourself, but I think you've done an amazing job in the last year. You know, we have our moments, but I do feel like you're really educating me how to be better with you. Mm-hmm. I'm still learning. This is, you know, any mom knows this is a work in progress, and to me, but you being able to communicate, saying, you know, we joked, the kids and I had a family meeting last week, and we joked, like, let's make spoons that stick on the fridge, like, you know, paper spoons, and just have it that you wake up in the morning and you go, I'm at 2, and then I know how to navigate that. But that to me makes me, I'm always at a 50. Mm-hmm. 90% of the time. I think everyone knows, you know, broke my ankle, I now have a PICC line. This is the first time that I actually don't have the many spoons. You know, 4 or 5 o'clock at night, I am not feeling well. And that was the first time I remember lying in bed one day after work and said, I know what Hannah feels like. I'm drained. And you've seen me where I'm like, I got to go upstairs. And I was like, oh my God, I understand for the first time, like, my body has said, I need to shut down.
And it's like, you know, like, especially when I was a lot younger, I'd come home, or like, you pick me up from school, and you're like, how was your day? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Because my soul is gone. It has been through the paper shredder.
We talked about before, it's to mentors. It's like pulling out.
Yeah, it's a bit twisted, but yeah,
a bit twisted if there's a happy version of that, but it is sucking literally your energy source.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like, a lot of people just, I don't get how they don't, like, get tired of being alive sometimes. Like, not in the bad way, but it's like, there's a lot of things to do and a lot of things to keep track of. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's just, how do I do everything I want to do with me only having so much I can do?
And planning, you know, I think it's, you talked about the other day, you're like, what you accomplish in a day, because I've been, because I've had to, you know, I've been slowing down, I'm not my normal capacity, and you're like, what you just did in one day
would take me a month.
Yeah, and it's an interesting, but my sister and I are just like that. Yeah. And so it is an interesting, but I think I'm so appreciative of you sharing, because I also think it helps us plan. Mm-hmm. We talked about what chores, and, you know, we had a conversation last week, you know, no offense, but, you know, Alexander gets a lot of the brunt.
I do the least. It's true. Yeah. And I'm not happy about it. You all certainly are.
Alexander's not happy.
And I don't blame you.
But we understand
but
now.
It's at some point you kind of just have to accept, and, you know, I've accepted that this is how it is. Mm-hmm. And it sucks, and, you know, it is a disability. It is literally a disability.
And I never appreciated that.
It's just...
I really truly have to say, when you were younger, you might remember, we got exceptions that you could have headphones on. Yeah. I didn't realize the magnitude of you just being like, I cannot hear anyone, these headphones in class. And the schools you went to, that was one thing that I just was like, we need accommodations for, and they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like,
exactly.
It's not an option. Like, if you want Hannah to be in class, she has to have,
I need to
block everyone out.
And it's like, especially like, because there are a lot of things that school is very bad with, and we've talked about this at length, but like one of the things that you fought for, and that, you know, because you mentioned like the administration was like,
what do you mean?
We don't want to do this.
And you
know?
were like like I was so ahead of, I mean, I really was all over trying to help you. Looking back, like I was super engaged. I'm still super engaged, but I remember in kindergarten they were like, even when you were 3 day a week, I didn't understand what it meant, but I remember kindergarten fighting for headphones.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that still holds up. Those were signs that I hope other parents really understand. When your child is struggling with that, you have to listen to them, even at a young age. And I did. You were like, it's too much noise, and I was like, oh, wait a second, you know. And it was noise canceling headset. We at some point, I think we were able to get you music if you wanted, but I think you wanted only noise because they're like, what? And I'm like, what is she gonna do? Cheat on a test with like sound? I mean, it was like, no, she needs to block everything out.
Yeah. And like that's, I mean, that's one of the benefits of going to music school. It's like, no one gives a shit if you listen to music.
Yeah, no one gives a shit.
That's your job,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, so let's get into that, and I think, you know, hopefully that helps, but I love talking about it because it is so clear to me. But, you know, we're now into, you ended up going one semester. Actually, now it's a year.
It was a year ago.
It was a year. You went to Georgia State. I remember going with you the first day just to help with parking and get you situated and just to be around. I worked at a Starbucks nearby, and then you did great. Then you figured out that you could only go to school 2 days in person, 2 days at home. And I remember after a few weeks, you looked defeated.
I was just like, the thing is, like,
and you were studying computer science, which to me, you have a natural ability. However, progression
part of it was that I wasn't studying computer science. You know, I was going to take it, but it was, you know, it was all the gen ed classes. It was American history. It was, you know, introduction to like media or whatever. And it's just like, I was just like, I'm in a class with, you know, 150 people. It's just like, part of me is like, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, and we did, you know, in fairness, we did a gap year. We put money down on a school, and then you're like, I really need a gap year. You made it 6 months, and we're like, I want to go back. Like, let me start Georgia State. We ended up doing that. But then it was so clear, and I remember, and I'm going to apologize for the next thing. You knew pretty close, you were already studying, you already had a drum teacher, you already had the drum set, and you were starting to play a lot. And you, unfortunately, struggled talking to me to be like, this is not my path.
Yeah.
And I'm truly like, once again, you have to listen to your kids. And as we joke and I'm learning, don't say no first, hear your kid, and that has been... I will change the way I parent from that. Don't say no. Listen to your kid.
There comes a certain point where, I mean, a side note to anyone who's listening, there's a certain point where you are not the parent of your kid. You are, you know, the parent of an adult. Yeah. And when you reach that point, and when I say adult, I don't mean like legally adult. I mean like 12 plus. Yeah. When people are able to make decisions and think on their own. If you control them, you, on some level, are like dampening. You're stifling them. And if you have a child who's 16, 17, and they're trying to talk to you about stuff, and you don't listen.
And it's not only not listening, because I always felt I was listening, but it was my first reaction.
You need to communicate.
Yeah, and it was, don't say no. Don't have this stern, the way you sit, and the way, it's like, always be approachable and listen to what they say, because I made many mistakes. Instantly saying, well, no, you're not going to music school. You never earn money, and like, you know, me being me.
Still not, but yeah.
I'm still that way. But it is and the kids and I talked about last weekend, it's my parenting motherly. I'll always be your parent and your mom. I want to insulate you, but in the end, that did more damage, where it's like, it took you weeks to say, you know, talk about that, because you went to therapy, and it was like you had anxiety telling me.
I literally had an entire therapy session, you know, planning out
how to talk to mom.
Yeah, how to, you know.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, I don't blame you, because it's just like.
But I blame myself for not. But that's where I feel like our communication has only exponentially increased over the years because
Yeah.
we have to. I'm so okay with you saying that's wrong. I mean, it's sometimes the approach. We both do it.
I mean, with you know, like in our communication style, there's sometimes where she says something and I'm just like, pause, and I'm like, no, you said that. That's false. We need to talk about that, or we need to work on that, because this is something that I cannot have going forward.
And I want to get back to the school, but the one thing I do want to not forget to say is, you and I have very different communication styles.
Yes.
I'm in your face, up front, want to conquer whatever, and you're more like, wait a second, as you said, pause. What we realized is when we have those moments, we go in our separate corners, we take a breath, we go on, I'm annoyed, you're annoyed, but then it's like, and then we start texting from our rooms, and it's this weird thing where it's like, you know, and I know Alexander and Madeline think the same. They're like, you guys are not mad anymore. I'm like, I was never really mad. I
was frustrated at the situation.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know that you don't do things to harm me, and vice versa. And it's just, it is communication.
But it is an interesting, like, I joke that you and I texting, we do better because we don't text with emotion for some reason together. Like most of the time. Well, we do when we're mad. But you know, it's in the end, it's like, this is the way you made me feel. And I'm like, this is the way I felt. And then we're both like, are you good? Are you good? And that to me is, it's almost cathartic that I feel relieved that knowing within an hour, whatever we're doing, we stop to say, and then of course the other two kids are like, you guys all right? And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, we're pretty good. But I do want to say, find your communication style with your child. And as a mom, learn to back off, to let them to have that moment, and to react to you being, sorry, I'm a bitch with certain things. My OCD takes over, and now I'm learning to just deep breath. Your words can cut, and I'm anyone that knows me knows, you know, and anyone that knows me, I am deep down a bitch. But no, but it is you're teaching me how to do that. But let's go back to, so you had to go to therapy to talk to me about going to music school. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Like, what angle of it?
So you ended up you had therapy. We talked about it, and you made the decision pretty much almost a year ago, like April. That
I mean, I basically put down the ultimatum. I'm like, if you're not helping me with this, I have the people, I have the avenues to do this on my own.
Yeah. It
will suck. I will struggle, but it's what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And like, one of the things that, like, in therapy, we like the real thing that, like, I worked on in therapy was not to talk to you, but it's, why do I want to do this, and what is my plan with it? Because you can't communicate with someone and like win someone to your side or opinion if you don't know exactly where you stand on it. And for me, it was really working on thinking about, I'm really passionate about this. In my situation, I'm privileged enough to pursue this in an avenue that's safe for me, and it's also it's just something that I know I can do.
And we did compromise, because in the end I said, finish your semester, you got great grades, you have one semester under, you really have a whole year of college because you went in with a bunch of credits. So
that's true.
So you have about a year of college. But then, it was interesting how it took me a little bit, but then it was, I really do believe, like a light bulb moment for me where it was like, this is what she has to do. And I think I give Madeline credit for this, because when I thought she also was going to go into STEM.
I don't know how she won that one.
And Madeline kind of eased me into being like, I want to go to graphics school. I want to go, and go to Parsons in New York. And of course it was never a problem with New York, but she had to go through me being like, no, you should do as a woman in STEM. And it's like, I think you are lucky that you were the second.
Madeline laid the groundwork.
She laid the groundwork for me to be like, no,
she won over the course of years. I won in a month.
Yeah, exactly. No, it took me 2 years to get on board with Madeline. No, just thinking of and she hated it. And I saw that instantly, that hatred for you of being like, you are not going to go to traditional school. And that's okay. Like, because people know, anyone that's been in my life knows Hannah is super smart. When you were a child, we were like MIT, Harvard. Like, if that's the avenue, I'm telling you, there was no, absolutely could have been your path. But as you evolved as an adult, that was never the right choice. I can't even actually comprehend it.
Me.
Yeah.
Like, it
would have ruined you. That's actually
that's an actual thing. I hear a lot of people, especially from some of the older folks in my class.
Older folks, wait. Older class, how old are they?
No, there's like one guy who's like 45.
Older. Okay. Yeah. No, okay. I just wanted to clarify, in their 20s.
No, I mean, I'm also saying like that from like a teacher's.
Okay, got it.
And
from
also,
experience.
There's a lot of people who describe their friends, their siblings, their like colleagues or their children going to schools like Georgia Tech, MIT, whatever, and it's not all that it's made out to be. Because
and it's not right for everyone.
You get so much opportunity, and it's like, oh, you went to Georgia Tech. Google does, like for example, like computer science. Google doesn't care where you went to school. They care if you can program. Yeah. They care if you're going to make them money. Yeah. That's the bottom line. Where it's, you don't need to do all this stuff to be successful. You just need to find what the success is for you.
Yeah.
And knowing that you can work around so much.
But I was talking to someone yesterday that said his grandson went to music school, and he said, if you turn your life's passion if you turn your work that is passion, it's never work. Mm-hmm. And I've heard that for years, but I think I was at the generation, I'm still at the generation where you didn't do that. I would have been a soap opera actress. Like, wasn't, obviously it would have been awful, but...
There's some truth to that phrase, and there's some... It's not completely correct.
Yeah.
Because, my passion is music. Music is work.
Oh, no, that's valid.
And it's like when
it's less work, it's more... I don't know what that is.
But it is, because it's like, like one of the things that, the school I'm going to, the Atlanta Institute of Music and Media, they have 100% job placement. If you graduate, they find you a job. You work somewhere. But at some level you have to make compromises, because, if everyone could just do their dream, which I wish, but it's just like,
but I feel
it's not going to work.
But I feel like
you have to compromise.
Yeah, I do. I 100% agree you have to compromise. But I do feel like your generation, Madeline's finding her nonprofit path, which I want to interview her again. But it's you're finding your music path, and Alexander's graduating this year. You guys, to me, are going to have a happier life, perhaps a little more financial insecurity. But
it's my generation's problem.
It is, but it's also not a bad thing. Like, we all talked about the opulence you grew up with, with me, working really hard, your dad at the time. And I do feel I always wanted to succeed, be more successful than my parents.
I want to be happier than you.
and that is a parent, how can you fault that?
You can't. If you fault that, it's because you got some crap to work through.
Yeah. I'd rather have you happier than having a bigger paycheck and having a bigger... Because in the end, you're going to do things that every day you want to get up to do. Mm-hmm. And I've had many times in my life with bad bosses and this, and you'll have that, but not to the level of...
And some people's happiness, some people, they're just like, I'm just going to work in this field that I don't like because I'm going to make so much money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And they're miserable.
They're miserable at work, but they get home, they're like...
Yeah, money. And that's okay. And everyone has what drives them. Mm-hmm. So tell us about the program. So it's a 2-year program. Where are you in the...
Yeah, so
you started, and I do want to also give you credit. Mm-hmm. We had a financial situation where you were supposed to start in the summer. We had to push you back to the fall. Yeah. It was financially the right decision for our family in our current situation. And you took it so well. You're like, okay, it is, I know I'm going. Mm-hmm. And I do want to just shout out to you, because it was like, oh my God, that was I remember crying to my sister saying, I need Hannah to wait. I can't.
I'm also like, oh no, I have to do nothing for like an extra 2 months. Like, oh.
Valid.
I can just take more time to myself. But it's like the program is so it's half production side and it's half music side. So currently I'm more in the music side where it's, I came in with a year and a half of drumming experience, and they're like, here's everything you need to do. You need to know all of this, and you need to pass, you need to get a good enough grade to pass the class. And it's like, oh God.
What's the average age of musical experience?
Oh, like musical experience?
Yeah, like how long have people been, the other drummers, the other
Well, I
guitarists?
think the drummers are a bit, because we have, there's one drummer who's 38 years of drumming.
Wow.
Picked up sticks when he was 2 years old.
Wow.
And just hold as soon as he could hold them. And it's like, when you think about that, it's like 38 years. It's like, it doesn't matter where I'm at, because it's like you have 14 times the experience that I do, or not 14.
Whatever.
Whatever
The math.
It's very bad math right now. 19. There we go.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's like where I'm at right now. It's literally just getting you up to par. So like, if you get a gig or you're like in a corporate band or something or whatever, they tell you to play some like kind of hard music. You're just like, no problem. Like, give me the sheet music. Like, I will do it, no problem.
But I also want to jump into that. You also were very unusual when you started. Most people start with what? What's the common drum?
Well,
okay, let's get into what you started with.
Because I have a new perspective on this, where it's like, I started, I'm a massive Tool fan, which is my favorite drummer currently, Danny Carey. He does some pretty interesting stuff on the drums.
Hard stuff, though.
But you hear that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm learning this song, but what you don't hear is me practicing, 6 months on one song, which was biggest mistake of my life, or not really, but like, it was just like, should have moved on. Yeah. But it's like, I was learning a much easier version of the song. We stripped away a lot of it, and it's just, you're building up. And for me, it's not, I wasn't learning Tool because I could have played Tool. I still can't, to a level where I'm happy with it. But it's like, you learn what you're passionate about. That's what I did at the start. And that's why I have a lot of the skills I do now, where it's like, oh, I can do a halftime shuffle, the Pretty Shuffle or whatever. Because there is a Led Zeppelin song, that had it in there. And it's just like, you just learn what you like.
Well, and I love, so you had a gig in the fall, and you had to learn how many songs in how many weeks?
So it was my first gig.
October, right?
Yeah, my last October. My teacher, my drum teacher at the time, got a call, and it was like, do you have any students who would be interested in this? He told me, and he's like, do you want to do this? And I'm like, if I'm going to music school, I'm obligated to do this.
It was right before you started.
It was right before I started. I literally did the gig, had a week, and then school started. So I was like, perfect timing. And I had to learn 35 songs in, like not that.
4 weeks?
Like
five
4 or 5 weeks. But it's also like
35 songs.
But it's like where I am now. It's like, that's the job. That is the job.
Yeah.
You get the set list for a gig, and you're like, let me just know how to do everything. And it's also building the repertoire so that there's a lot of songs that you'll play. There's songs that I'm learning now that I will play 100 times in my future in gigs, because it's just how it is.
But I'd also think, like, to give yourself credit, the band was a little older than me. They were the nicest people. We went and saw you, perform. You're playing with them right now and practicing. But it's this amazing thing. Every single band member came up to me and to Madeline and Alexander and said, we've never seen someone pick up that many songs in such a short period of time and play them so well. They were like, Hannah's like, it was just, and I knew you were good, but hearing from people that,
they have musical experience.
They have musical experience, and I was like, hey, kudos to you for like, it was so much fun just to be like, we were such geeks taking photos of you, and but to see you there, seeing, you at that point were a little less than 2 years of playing drums, because now you're about 2 and whatever half, a little less. But it's absolutely incredible to me. And it's just your seeing you take apart your drum system. I mean, that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not like you're grabbing a guitar. It's like your back of your
It can
car
be a bit
has.
of a pain, yeah.
It's a bit of a. It's like you pick the bigger instrument. But I do seeing you play. I remember leaning over to your siblings and saying, "This is what she was meant to do." Like it was so, and I'm so happy that you found that because I mean,
it also really hasn't sunk in. Maybe it's because of my age. Maybe it's because of like how I perceive my life, where it's like there's this section of like being born to like when I turn like 17 of like we don't want to talk about that, and then this section where it's like, okay, I'm actually like a person now, and it's like I am happy with myself, which goes into some other topics, but it's like I've only been playing for a bit over 2 years. I started playing on my 17th birthday. That's the day I got my drum set, and it's like it takes a lot for me to kind of recognize, and I get this a lot from like some of the other students who are motivating me. They're like, 2 years is for where I'm at now is not a lot.
yeah.
And it's like I'm really
Not a lot, meaning not a lot. You're doing well for where
I'm doing really well
okay.
for like how much I've been playing, and part of that is just time. It's just how much time do I put into it, and it's like recently, my school has extra classes for it. I have the gig with with the people I played with in October, and it's just now it is kind of just it's a function of how much can I put myself into this instrument without burning out.
Yeah.
To say that
or
clearly.
hurting yourself because we went to a hand doctor at one point. We went because you weren't using the right.
I was using pretty shitty technique.
And then it was like, oh my god, they're like, well, you could get surgery, you could do it. And it's like, wait.
And I was just like, I looked at this and I'm just like, I'm just gonna rest for like 2 weeks, let this die down, and I'm just gonna like take it really slowly. Yeah. I haven't had that problem since.
Yeah, that's a wild. I mean, I'm so glad we at least went to be like, okay, if it's a problem, because it could be carpal tunnel or something.
It's also like tendonitis and carpal tunnel.
Yeah,
pretty common in drummers because it's what you're doing.
Yeah. No, so then, so part of each of your semesters, and I'm so sad to say your first semester, you got super sick.
Really bad sinus infection.
Like,
good Lord.
Couldn't go to school for the last few days. I have a broken ankle. I'm not really going anywhere. And we were like, I'll get in the car. I'm going to see your performance. And then you were like, I can't perform. And I felt so bad because you practice all semester. You practice certain songs. And then you at the end were like, can't do it. And you ended up, did you record your section?
So I basically, the last week it was like, I had, like 5 different, final exams. And it was just like, one of the things that I have to do is I have to record some of the stuff. And it's like, there was one day where I was playing for 3 hours with a sinus infection,
And you get I know people are like, oh, sinus infection. It's like, no.
No.
We both get migraines, and it's like, it is, you can't, it's so hard to function.
When we get sick, we go
down.
It's bad.
It's really bad.
But it's just like, it was just, I don't know, I just did it.
You had to
I had to do it, or I would have had to spend, a lot of money retaking those classes.
I know, seriously. Well, and you've got a performance coming up on the 20th. And so one of my happy things is one of the songs that you're going to be playing most likely.
We don't know.
We don't know, but...
I'm saying that I will register my interest for that song because you care.
Tell everyone what songs you think right now you'll be playing.
Well, to be clear, I mean, it also doesn't matter by the time this recording goes out, and it's whatever, but it's like... it's Red by Taylor Swift, which is the song that she's very excited about.
I'm so excited. And I was like, there's a drum part? And you were like, yeah, it's a really good drum part. And I was like, sorry, I know the song really well, but anyway.
And one complete side note, which is like one thing with, is I listen to new music and like I kind of can understand it a lot more. And one of the things that happens when I'm told to like learn a new song, it's like I put the song on and I'm like, I just really don't like the song. When I listen to it more, I'm like, damn, this drummer's doing some, they're doing some work right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you found appreciation for different genres,
and I'm like,
different music.
I would never. I'm still never gonna listen to it, you know, in my free time. But it's like, it's
unless you're in the car with me and it automatically comes on, which it does.
Which it does.
So Red, and then what are the other ones? Is it Billie Jean?
No,
that was awesome. Okay, sorry, that was part of your gig.
Well, I mean, to be clear, I really just don't know what I'm
Oh
playing.
yeah. So.
We're expected to know every single song we're supposed to play.
How many songs?
There's 20 songs in total for this semester, which isn't a whole lot, but we're
in between class,
in between classes and in between everything else, and also you know, you have to know at a pretty good level because they show us the songs on Monday, and then you need to know them on Wednesday, and you come in to play them. And it's also like sometimes.
So the 18th of March, you need to know the songs to play on the 20th. It literally gives you 2 days.
Well, we've already been over all of this.
Oh, okay, got it.
So this is like we're just selecting from the past.
Got it.
But it's just there's sometimes like we all come into class and we're all kind of looking at each other and we're like, so this is gonna be a train wreck, right? And it's like it's gonna be pretty bad.
And you like all my impression is these are really it's a great community of kids that go to school and like adults really it's. Because you come home and it's like, it's fun, like, what are you doing after this, for example?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna, my drum teacher and, you know, a bunch of my classmates, we're just gonna go, like, jam for, like, a few hours. You know, there's gonna be, like, a few drum sets set up or whatever.
And you were saying that nearby us. Well, super
it's 12 minutes away.
Yeah, so Hannah drives, as she mentioned, she drives to school. In no traffic, it's not that far, but it's like a good chunk of miles. How many miles is it?
20 miles.
20 miles.
Up, like 85,
you know, because you have an electric car, and you know the mileage. But being so close, but it's someone they have a studio, so they're all set up with like you don't have to bring your drums. It's all set up, so it's like you get to just jam together.
Yeah,
that's so amazing. That's so amazing. So where do you hope? So you've basically 2 semesters. It's a quarter program. Mm-hmm. So you will graduate. I mean. If you want to take off a semester, like what's your estimated time of graduation?
I will graduate in about 2 years from now.
2 years from now.
So I'm doing 3/4 time, just so I can pace myself better. And it's also like...
Are you taking the summer off?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We're good to know that we're negotiating this right now.
Valid.
But it's just like... I was like, yeah, good thing I took like less of a course load because I'm like it's
and
a
I'm
lot.
Okay with that.
But like it's also like I've only playing 2 years. You know, there's times that like we're expected to know something or expected to do something, and it's like all the other drummers are like like they're just like, oh, this is pretty hard, and I'm just here like my bones are gonna die. Yeah. I don't have the endurance or the hand speed.
Yeah.
You know, ready for this, and it's just. Guess I'm gonna catch up.
Yeah.
It's just that dynamic of I always feel like I'm a step behind, but if you keep catching up, you're not really a step behind. You're still making it. So.
And when does the production piece come in? So how
I'm
is it?
I'm currently in a one class, Pro Tools, which is it's a digital audio workstation. Good Lord, and it's just like how do you make sound good, and how do you put it together, and like how do you make music, and then there's also like the like video side of it, and like there's just it's this massive world of you don't think of like Taylor Swift. There's someone, you know, someone has to set up like recording.
Oh, it's insane.
You know, someone has to like tune every instrument, you know, make sure that everything sounds good, and then they have to take it all in. You know, they have to make sure that like the sound quality is good. They have to make sure that, you know, the way that they're like dealing with the music is like as best as they can be. And then there's some guy, you know, in the studio working with the musicians to make everything sound good. And then there's another guy who's, you know, working on it like afterwards, making everything put together, like everything like work really together, so that when you're listening to it on Spotify, it works. It sounds good on your phone. It sounds good on your car. Yeah. It sounds good on your $10,000 speakers or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm like, if I'm gonna be doing this, like, let's say I got, like, someone wants to have some clips of mine, or they're just like, hey, can you put these things together? I need to have the skills to do that as a musician in the, 21st century.
Well, and it's also, to me, I think it's such a fun area where, as you know, once you said you wanted to do this, I was like, I came back to you and was like, well, I would do music and AI. And it was like, okay, I get, but you do look at it going, music's in everything, from commercials to, obviously radio, but to TV shows to, video games. I feel that music is only going to increase across all these platforms because everything's online.
I mean, music is it is universal.
Yeah.
Like, even like, for like podcasts, like, think of the most famous podcasts, there's probably some like intro song or whatever.
Oh no, I was thinking, I'm like, I started with one and then was like, it's a lot of work. I'm like, at some point it would be great for you to be like, why don't we have an intro song? And
it's like, what I'm learning, like, to play with the band is mostly different from like stuff like that, but it's just.
But you have a good ear for it, though.
But what I'm saying is, like, their goal is to make sure that no matter what I do, I have a foot in the door somewhere.
That's awesome.
Because if someone's hiring like a musician or something for something, are you gonna take, the drummer, or are you gonna take the drummer who knows like music theory and can like work in a digital audio workstation and everything else? It's just it's important to know a lot.
And this school is known for it. Like, this is such a good school.
It's actually wild to me because I've never heard of the school.
Yeah.
But it's like, apparently,
I kept calling it wrong.
It's
and then I was
you
like,
still do.
Media. It's not motion.
But like, I keep hearing from like a lot of some of the the administrators. They're talking like, like, there are people who like they learn that you went here and they're like, oh, they're good. Like, you just know because the school is, as I said a lot earlier, it's 100% like work placement.
Yeah.
You are expected to know a lot.
Well, it's also, Atlanta is such a mecca for film and music and TV
too.
and Atlanta has more studios, like, between Tyler Perry and the studio that does Marvel, like, and now they have a whole new one. Is it Chambly? Whatever. They have like the old GM factories, like hundreds of thousands square feet. Yeah. That's all music, and for TV and film. So to me, while I love that you found your passion, I love that you found something that you like. And if one more person says, and if you're listening, and you did say it to me, well, how's Hannah going to make money? And it's like, this is a job. This is going to be a career for her. It's like, and don't discredit the 2 years, because it's going to be a little bit more than 2 years probably, start to finish, but it doesn't matter. You found the right, school for you and your skills and your interests.
There's also some aspect of it where it's like, musicians in history have been clinically underpaid. Yeah. That is the truth, because, you like the music that enriches your lives, the music that defines culture. Music has been at the center of culture for forever, literally forever. Since like humans have existed, music has been a core of the human experience. Music is just such a wide, category, and for me, it's like, I'm going to be probably taking it more into like the live and like the concert setting. That's what I want to ideally do, but like Spotify, like I saw a video earlier today, like Snoop Dogg recently like surpassed 1 billion streams on Spotify. You know how much he was paid for that? $45,000.
Yeah, it's wild.
And it's just like,
that's gonna change.
How am I gonna make money? There's a lot of ways, but it's like, it's kind of a shame that we don't treat,
my father
such a core to our culture better.
My father, Papa Joe, always said, he referred to it so much as the starving artist. He's like, half the composers that he was obsessed with all died in poverty. And it's like, we're still listening to Beethoven. And I don't know if it's Beethoven or Brahms or I grew up and I can't remember all but it's so true.
Imagine how much more music we would have if just musicians could live. Throughout history.
Yeah. And I do believe that there's platforms like, I really love TikTok, And I feel that
TikTok is actually like genuinely revolutionizing.
it really
like, the
is,
music
and I
industry.
feel like that gives a chance. Like I just found a new singer that was, and I'm like, she's incredible. Never would have found her any. So I do feel like artists are having a chance to do, you know, whether you're a painter, whether you're a musician. I do feel that is opening up. And I know I wanted. There's other questions I want to ask you, but I want to be conscious of the time. You and I can talk to you forever.
We always do this.
We always do this.
That one the last two.
But I do want to say, you know, I want to leave with the questions I always ask. So, at the current state, the two questions: what empowers you, and what inspires you?
So, what empowers me is I've learned more recently that I have a very strong drive. I have, you know, a very you used a word to describe me. I'm very tough, and I've been through a lot. I've dealt with a lot, and I've worked through a lot, and it's very like spiritually calming on a lot of levels to know, like, you know, sure, I could have a busy week, but I've been through so much worse. You know, it's like even with like the things I described at the start of, you know, this, which is like I just don't have a lot of energy, you know, I literally just can't do a lot in a day. But it's also like I know what needs to be done, and I know I will get it done eventually. And this stuff is like, life is a marathon, it's not a race, you know. Most people aren't gonna be, you know, making all their life decisions in a few years. It's, I'm just gonna pace myself. I'm just gonna work gradually, and it's especially in like music. It's how long can you continually improve and keep that improvement process up so that you just become better at it, because it is a skill that you work on. And it's just, it empowers me to know that I have the ability to do this, and I know I do just because of how my life has gone so far. And what was the other one? Inspires.
What inspires you?
I mean, this is a pretty obvious answer, but you know, the music I listen to. I find that I have a really, really deep bond, and I didn't realize this, but a lot of people don't have that with music, and some people don't have that with anything, which is
sad.
I mean, it's not that it's sad, it's just that some people just don't.
Yeah.
You know, some people
I love music.
Some people have the joys in a wide variety of things, but it's like, for me, music is so entangled with who I am, my identity, literally, and just how I get through a day.
Well, and I love music, but you love music like to a whole like I can't do I listen to music all day long. Like but you have it at such another level, and it shows your destiny is to be involved in music for your career and life. As we close, I'm so happy to have you. I can't wait to continue to have conversations with you. Maybe not every year, but I know I want to bring your siblings here too. I do want to close with, you know, you and I've worked through a lot of stuff. You've had a hard go of it. As you said, you're tough. You've gotten through it. You are so inspiring. Like, I can't even put into words. You found who you're meant to be. Every day I look at you going, I couldn't be more absolutely crazy and love you, and just, I will be your biggest cheerleader for the rest of your life. I will try not to say no first. I will be the one sitting in the concert. I will be the one always there for you. And thank you for like letting me be a better human mom, and letting you find your passion in life, because I can't wait to see where this takes you. And I know your siblings would say the same, that we're all here cheering for you, and I know the audience is as well. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk to you again hopefully soon. You're welcome anytime. And thank you for listening to Herstories. Stay tuned for another episode coming up soon.